So this video is all about why I keep getting rejected. Last night, I checked my email about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I received yet another rejection letter. This one hit hard. It was about a grant that I applied for the Reciprocity Project. And ironically, it was to create a platform for non-rejectable research papers and grants that got rejected. And I want to talk about that today. And this video is different than probably most of the stuff that you're going to see online. Because most of that stuff and most of that sort of advice stuff is pointing out that there's ways to fix this. And I've done this long enough. I'm an associate professor. I've been doing various different work things within the research world, various different roles for a long time now, for many years, probably 20 years. And I'm just becoming used to learning to accept that the whole process is set up to reject. And there was a lot of sort of discussion that people talk about that there's ways to navigate this in various different ways. You could look at the comments and all that kind of stuff, but I've come to realize after many, many years that it's the same old comments over and over again. And the process has little to do with, and I know that this is difficult for a lot of people to sort of hear, the process has little to do with sort of a rational process that you might think about, and that it's laid out that there is, if you do things right and you perform the right actions, then things should work out for you. Instead, a different way to think about this is not a sort of rational economic way to think about this, and that's the logic that everybody sort of lays out, where you perform this action right here, and then you get this outcome with some sort of probability. Instead, I'd rather have you think about this as a legitimacy and a sort of status-seeking process, which is very much on the realm of sociology. It's a lot different than sort of economic logic. And much of the research for many years now that have come out in our understanding about science and research and how it actually works actually shows much more favorably in the sense that it's a sociological process, or a process of anthropology of demonstrating legitimacy. And no matter what you do, you can't change the process of rejection in the sense that you might think about it. And I'm saying that, yes, there are lots of different ways to change this and improve this and all this kind of tricks and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately what's happening is that as you get better, the whole market gets better as well. And all of there's just collective shift. It's called and I'm blanking on it right now, but it's based, basically it's called the Red Queen effect. Where everybody gets better at the same time. We're all racing towards some sort of arbitrary finish line. You think that you're actually going to get better, but you're not. And you never really get better. The whole field kind of shifts forward. And it's really interesting to sort of view this in terms of you just accepting that there is essentially just a given rejection rate that you're always going to face, no matter what. And it never gets easy. There's always a lot of things that are tied to this, right? What happens with your career, the money that you eventually receive, a lot of different things are tied to this rejection rate. And some people are better at it than others. I do think that there is what's called heterogeneity in the marketplace in terms of how likely you are going to get accepted. And I think that the heterogeneity is often, in my view, based on things that are very subjective and hard to control, right? Things like your writing style, things like things that are more bestowed into you, endowed into you, rather than something that you can control and process. The amount of work that you put into it is already a lot, just like everybody else. And so you can't control that so much. And why am I saying this? And why am I getting at this? And the reason it is not to sort of dash people's hopes in any sort of way. It's to learn how to deal with going through all of the moments where this is going to happen to you. You're going to apply it right from the get-go. You're going to apply to 100 different programs, research programs around the country. You're only going to get into a couple. And the rest of them are not going to look at you for various different reasons. The reasons why that often happens, if you start looking into and you start asking individual processes, it's often very random, in the sense that they were looking for this kind of interest at this particular time, or that there was all these people that were not applying at this time. It's a market force, and there's a tremendous amount of irrationality to the whole process that you can't control. And instead of thinking about this as, I'm going to perform this action and I'm going to get this particular outcome, or I guess from your perspective, it's this way. I'm going to perform this action, I'm going to get this outcome, and it's all going to work out, and it's a statistical probability. You have to recognize it for what it actually is. It's a legitimacy status-seeking process that you have to build. And at any given point in time, you just don't have that legitimacy. So how do people build this legitimacy? It's like the startup world. How do they build up legitimacy? It's partnering with people that have more legitimacy. Seems to be a really big factor. It is, having more legitimacy behind your name in terms of what you've already done and accomplished. In my view, these things are really hard to control because it's kind of part of the same process. The only thing that I can possibly do for me is to get back up and to do it again, and to play by less conventional ways, where I look at the world and I simply say, you know what? I can't control it. I can't, all of that stuff is outside of my control. The sort of failure rate and success rate of what I actually do, that's not in my control. And I'm never going to feel good about any of this stuff that happens. And so what I need to do is try to manage those emotions, and ignore the whole thing. Ignore everything about it, and kind of view myself in a very robotic way, that I'm simply just going to get back up and do this again. And I don't know how many times I could do this in terms of getting back up and doing it again, but it's part of what you actually do. And it's a very robotic way, and it removes all of the emotion from it as much as possible. It hurts. You can watch many of my videos where I talk about this. I just want you to sort of realize that there is a certain element of this that is just procedural. It has nothing against you. And there's not much that you can change with it. So I'd encourage you not to read into it too much, and just keep going, picking up where you got let off. Don't read into the comments too much. A little bit, yes, there is some truth to reviewer comments, but often there's not a lot of truth. And you have to simply just get back up and do it again, and repeat and repeat and repeat, until something happens. I don't know when that is. Nobody knows. But the only thing that you can control is getting back up and forgetting about all of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and try to live a happy and healthy life, whatever that looks like for you. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.